Welcome to Knock 'Em Dead, a comedy podcast that deals with the one thing we all experience, yet never talk about: death. Episode 4, Military Death. I was raised in a military family. My father was a Marine officer. At 2, I didn't wear pull-ups, I did pull-ups. Dad's helicopter was shot down in Vietnam. He woke up on a hospital ship 9 months later and volunteered to go back. He really didn't like his wife at the time. And he's still the same man at 81. 2 weeks ago, he fell off his porch into a rose bush, got helped out, and volunteered to go back. Dad, get out of the rose bush. My mom later married an Army colonel. She had a type called daddy issues. My stepfather served his country for 25 years, and it still didn't prepare him for my family. Both dads had their own battles with PTSD, from my mom and from their military service. But what if they were one of the many that didn't survive? Suicide rates among active duty military members are at an all-time high since 9/11, with some branches experiencing the highest rates of suicide since before World War II. In 2021, research found that 30,177 active duty personnel and veterans who served in the military after 9/11 have died by suicide. That's compared to 7,057 service members killed in combat in those same 20 years. The U.S. is great at paying attention to veterans after they die. But what if we could love them before they gave their lives for us? I'm Rachel Bradley, with my co-host Christopher Titus. This is Knock 'Em Dead. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to episode 4.
Episode 4
of Knock 'Em Dead podcast. I'm Rachel Bradley. This is my co-host,
Christopher Titus. I am your host. I guess it's co-host. Okay, all right.
I'm your co-host. That's what co means. You ding-a-ling.
Oh, both of us. We're both doing it. Co.
Yeah.
We're both. Okay, got it. So, welcome to the show, guys. Why?
Welcome to my life, guys. Also, welcome to my bad hair day. The higher the hair, the closer to heaven, I think is the New Jersey saying.
I've got a bad everything day.
If it falls during the podcast below 7,000 feet altitude, let me know.
Well, also, we're traveling across the country to every weather possible because of climate change and us getting off in different states. Your hair is just like, I'm just going to fall out.
Yeah. And or be an afro. It's just really gone. It's gone through a lot of iterations in the last couple of weeks. But we've had a great time on the road with people.
So because this is the 4th episode and we're still new, would you do me a favor and tell us why we decided to do this podcast?
I think once you've experienced death personally, especially with someone that you love, there are things I wish I knew. And I wish that it hadn't been such a taboo topic. Right. And so once I faced it, and certainly when I face it personally, that I would have been better prepared. And I wanted to do it comedy podcast because that's what we do, but to destigmatize death is my goal through comedy, through laughing, not at the death, but at the absurdity around the death.
And how everybody deals with it. But also, taboo is the perfect word. It is so, it's the worst thing. I mean, when you think about it, it's the worst thing. So all this life force you've had for however many years you've been on the planet just gets snuffed out.
Yeah.
And what I'm learning, the further we get into it, is that, and with grandma too, I mean, being around a little bit of death now, it's taken the, I'm looking you right in the face, Death. It's taking the edge off. Where I'd be like, sup, Beth? Yeah, is it my time? All right. TikTok.
I'm not quite there yet.
I don't want to know. I'm not saying I want to go now, but when it happens, I think I'm going to be
wrinkly.
Yes, very wrinkly. But also I've read some more. The more I read about it, the more I read what your brain does, the more I read the physiology and then the spiritual part of it and what happens to people, the more I'm like, okay, it's just another part of the journey. There you go. Well,
I think today's topic is this is a tougher one.
Yep.
To me. Today we're talking about military death. Mm-hmm. Something that you and I have been very passionate about with our other podcasts, with Titus podcast, and we have military in our families. I grew up
who've
with
both dealt with extreme
Marine officer
yes.
with PTSD.
They weren't radar or like doing paperwork. They were like in the field and saw horrible things and dealt with death on a level that's that we as civilians will never deal with unless it's some horrible disaster or something. And so there's some different aspects that I talked to Scotty.
There's some what?
Different aspects of it that I didn't think. I always thought, oh yeah, your buddies get shot, your buddies die. I never thought it was brought up to me that, well, it's not just that, it's the damage to the innocent people in the war zone. It's the damage, there's a whole bunch of extra coming back. What happens when guys, they bring the nightmare back to the States. And so we wanted to deal with all that to again do what we can to help you deal with it.
You look at people going over there for wartime, advertised or not, and living in a very surreal life, right? People that were in Afghanistan, trolling for IEDs daily and living in those, going into those villages and stuff. I mean, that's not, we live safe, right, in the United States.
Yeah, all those kids' adrenal glands are like just Schwarzenegger. They're just like, it's just running all the time. Yes.
And then you see innocent people dying, and then they come back here and they're just supposed to assimilate.
Yeah. All right, you're done. Hey, thanks for doing it. We're going to move on now.
There is, we've talked about this on our other podcast, but at one time, estimated 22 veterans succumbing to suicide per day.
Oh, I said it was.
And that's why there's a military suicide awareness movement called #22a-day. Wow. Which, when you and I first heard that statistic, it doesn't even seem. That's crazy.
I said I thought it was a week. I think I said that in our interview. It's a day.
22 a day. It's you can go and read about it. The different suicide rates per military branch. Obviously, Air Force is lower. Because they're at the Holiday Inn.
Wow. You even did a joke here. Wow.
What are you doing? Sitting chilling at the Holiday Inn.
Yeah, they're flying above it.
Exactly.
They're over it.
I'm sorry I was raised by a Marine.
By the way, we apologize to everyone in the Air Force.
I'm equal opportunity. I dated a lot of Air Force guys in college. There was a base. It was like there was just a corral of good-looking guys in uniform.
It sounds like you had a reputation. I dated a lot of Air Force guys. Hello?
Not at the same time. One time I did.
Oh my God! I didn't. How come I didn't? We're married. You didn't hear about this before we got married.
Yeah, you did.
No, not a lot of. No, the term "I dated a lot of Air Force guys" was never said.
I may have over exaggerated. I lived near Barksdale Air Force Base for a while, and but I do remember my dad being like, "Air Force." Like, my dad's just so, no, it's hard to get emotion out of him, but that
don't even want to meet him. Don't even want to meet him.
I'm super excited for our guest today.
I am too. We love this guy. We literally love this guy.
Today's guest is a guest I'm very excited about, someone I've known for quite a while, someone who we both highly respect, someone who is infinitely qualified to talk about what we're talking about today. His name is Colonel Randy Williams. He has a lot of bio information that I think is important.
I agreed.
To qualify him. Joined the Army in May of 1981 as a second lieutenant of infantry, served in the 1st Armor Division in Germany, then the Mountain Ranger Camp in Georgia, assistant professor at West Point. His assignment there was curtailed because of the Gulf War. They sent him to Arabic training. The Army used him for 2 tours at U.S. Central Command Intelligence and Security Cooperation and at Defense Intelligence Agency for Middle East issues. He got 1.
So that's just a really long way of saying he got in there with spies, spoke the language, and pretty much saved a lot of American lives.
Yeah, he got 2 and 1 more 2-year infantry assignment in the 10th Mountain Division, but was constantly working in the Middle East, included tours at the U.S. Embassy in Jordan and Kuwait post 9/11. His work was focused on global war on terror and 2 luxurious visits to Iraq and almost every other Arabic-speaking country that he specifically omitted.
I met him in Kuwait, where
I wasn't done.
Oh, go keep going.
2 master's degrees at the U.S. Army War College, over 25 years of service, retired as a colonel in 2006. However, immediately went back to the Middle East to work as a contractor in security for 9 years. Mm-hmm. When somebody says they work in security.
Yeah. With that kind of military background, it's just security. We're like, okay, bro, how many guys did you kill?
Slowly back away. Colonel Randy Williams.
Colonel Randy Williams, ladies and gentlemen. Yay! I like that you went to the.
You. I'm glad that last question wasn't on the topic for me to speak to.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for going in your bathroom and doing it in front of your shower curtain. It's very nice. It's a nice shower curtain with the bumblebees on it. Very cute. It takes down your because we know how we know how dangerous you really are, and so the little bumblebees on your shower curtain just makes you snuggly.
I am snuggly.
We wanted to talk to you today because unfortunately, this podcast is about death. That part's not unfortunate. The unfortunate part is that you have a lot of experience with it. Specifically today, we are talking about military death. And you have said to me before that often the hardest war is fought back here at home, right? Do you want to explain that?
Well, I think that while they're in service, they're surrounded by people who have shared in their experiences. When they get back home, they oftentimes have no kind of support system. People don't understand. They say they understand, but they have no way of understanding. And we've lost a lot of servicemen post-retirement. In fact, one young lady started Vet Lives Matter because her husband took his own life. Most of the suicides I'm familiar with happened while in service.
Oh, really?
What didn't it get of the guys that got back? It was somewhere like 21 a week, or it was pretty crazy how many guys came back and didn't have the support they needed. And
it was particularly with Iraq and Afghanistan, those kind of wars. And I'm sure PTSD was a huge part in most of those, if not all of them. It's really hard to know. There's not all of them left notes.
I talked to Scotty. Scotty was EOD. My cousin Scotty was EOD, and I asked him a couple things. And the things that the guys have to deal with, it's not just their buddies, the guys they've fought with, dying. It's not just that, but it's also, he said, Scotty brought up, and I didn't think about it, but like if you're in the service and you're fighting in a war, you're dealing with civilian deaths that are brutal. You're not, and not even the bad guys, just innocents. Like you guys have to deal with. It's not just, it's not like grandma dying. It's like this whole other thing where these guys you've trained and fought with go. And then you're clearing a village where everyone got, the bad guys killed a bunch of people. And so I can't even imagine the horrors that the guys bring back.
And women.
Yeah, and women too. Soldiers, period. Yes.
You can't just say soldiers.
Soldiers, Marines. I know. Sorry. I'm a comedian.
Marines are not soldiers.
Well, one of the worst cases. Yeah. One of the worst cases that I ran into was a Marine. He was in Fallujah in 2004. Anybody who knows Fallujah in 2004, it was hell. And he was called out, his last call out, acted. He and his partner were both EOD techs. There was a bombing in a market, women and children dead everywhere. Of course, the women set up their crying for their lost loved ones. He goes in there. He sees this. On the way out, they drive over a roadside bomb, which it was a 130 millimeter round that went off underneath their Humvee, throwing him up against the wall. He was flying for 3 days. And in the 3 days, he kept going over the scene and the sounds of this marketplace. And when he got his vision back, he had full-blown PTSD and was suicidal and paranoid and hard to deal with. I met him after his time in service, and he was still a wreck.
So you were a summary court officer while you were in the Army. And so
Yes.
How did that relate?
That was one of my first times with military deaths.
And what was that?
Well, in the Army, you can be called to duty, and the other services have something similar. As a summary court officer, a notification officer, a funeral detail officer, and in higher levels, I'm sure there's others that do things. When I signed in at the Ranger camp, almost every officer was out of the camp on operations, and we had a suicide among one of the sergeants left behind. And so I being there, the summary court officer is to sort through his last possessions and deliver them to his next of kin, which in this case would be his mom and dad. And in there, as a summary court officer, you try anything valuable, photos of those things you want to have, his car, anything of value. We also were given orders, things like his big stash of Playboy magazines. Don't take those back to mom.
Especially with the Post-its in them. Hey, this is what he really liked. These were his favorites. Yeah, I get it. So you have to edit. You have to be emotionally sensitive editing for the parents, especially the mom. Got it.
Right, and this particular case was already messed up because the notification officer and chaplain, when they went there, didn't realize that this couple had 2 staff sergeants in the Army. And so when they came and said and notified that Staff Sergeant, let's say I'll make up a name, Staff Sergeant Russell has passed away, and they're saying, well, which one of my boys was it?
Oh, no.
And they were dumbfounded. They didn't know. And so they had to go back and get on radio while the parents go back in and they're speed dialing both sons. Well, one didn't answer and one did.
And also you wonder which one they called first.
Right. The favorite. Was it the favorite? That'd be a bad thing for a parent to ask. Was it our favorite?
That's a very Hunter Biden, Beau Biden situation.
I love them both. But this guy I like a little more. I got a question for you. We talk about suicides in the military a lot, and the percentage is so much higher than like normal society than civilians. I have a question. What do you think it is in the military? Because even when guys haven't seen a lot of action, what is it in the military or is it a certain person that is drawn to the military that's more apt to do it, or is it the military? What's in the military that makes people go, this is it? Because you hear pundits talking about it all the time, and for a guy who's had on the ground experience, what do you think it is?
Men and women. Sorry.
Well, I think there's a number of factors, but first of all, they're humans. They're not robots. And we in the Army, a couple things that we don't do well is we don't celebrate our victories or take the time to celebrate, nor do we really take the time to honor our dead while in combat. They're shipped out, and that's done elsewhere. And so you have these issues, but you have survivor's remorse. Guys who were only 1 or 2 out of a unit that's gunned down. They have a hard time getting over it, but where this issue of PTSD comes in, whether it comes to fruition or not in them, is that oftentimes they can't sleep, they're paranoid, and they have this film that is constantly running over through their mind, resetting and running again, and all this sleepless period of time. In fact, it happened to me back in 2005, about 6 weeks after my first wife's passing, when I was sent right back to the Middle East, and some of that time I stupidly traveled by myself, like to Yemen. Nobody does that, but I didn't give a rat about my life at that time, and I noticed that. And so when I got back, I got a little bit of help, and it was like catch-22. They said, "Well, since you sought help, you're okay."
Was this when you?
So.
Was this because there was I know you've said before that there was a period in your life where you were awake for a shocking number of days. What was that?
That was it. That was the time when I got back to the States, and all the good Baptists will not like what I said, but in my time, and I was a Christian who read Bible regularly, and there in Proverbs 31, I think it was verse 7, I found out that those who mourn should take wine. And so I said, you know what?
Hold on, I'm writing that down. Proverbs what?
Yeah, I had to let the melatonin get out of my system first.
Wow.
Otherwise, worse things would happen.
It really is a good book.
I had 2 glasses. Ordered a third one. It was British Airways business class, good wine. And I don't know if I took a drink of that third glass. I didn't know anything until they woke me starting to land at Heathrow Airport.
Wow.
And when I came alive, even though I was physically still tired, I felt like I had been on a week's vacation.
Wow.
You were awake for how many days?
I was running without 4.5.
With no sleep at all.
I was well into going on toward day 5.
Wow, that's insane. That'll make you insane. Holy crap.
Now what Randy was referencing
that's those scenes running through your head was constantly with me.
What Randy was referencing there that we haven't mentioned yet was that he, by this point, had lost his youngest brother to leukemia, I believe, and had lost his first wife to colon cancer, Melissa.
On top of all the battlefield stuff.
Yes. Although when I first met him, I asked him if he served during wartime, and he said none that were advertised. Yeah. And I was like,
we'll leave it at that. Let's leave it. I want to touch on something because I just talked.
Okay, Iraq was a war zone when I was there. Okay, I'll admit that.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say references that I picked up that I'm completely making up, but Black Hawk Down situation and Saddam capture. He doesn't say anything. He can't talk about those.
I swear
he cannot confirm or deny, and let's leave it at
that. I was across the Red Sea in Yemen that day.
He hasn't ever said, but I have had a lot of scotch with him before.
As his passport says.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. So Scotty was saying this is really important, and for any veterans who are listening, I didn't think about the civilian thing. Scott said to me when he came back, because he was involved when Kenton Stacy, his SEAL team leader, got blown up, and he came back and he was fine for like a month. And then, like you said, the movie started playing in his head, which seems to be a consistent thing. I mean, imagine the worst horror movie you've ever watched, and then imagine being there, that it was real, and you just kept reliving it. And that you start to get a little tiny window into how much damage that would do to your psyche. And then he said there's this thing in the military that if you go to therapy and get any help, you're weak. And he said, I think it's the opposite. You have to know what's going on with yourself and be strong enough to go face that. And he said that helped. It changed his life. The military got him into therapy, and he went from having some problems, paranoia and stuff, to it went away. So do me a favor, guys. We love you for serving for us. Guys, listen out there, and just man, we think you're strong to go fix it. That's what men do. We fix it. And if we got to fix ourselves, that's what we got to do.
Men and women.
Sorry.
What kind of misogynistic crap is this?
Sorry. Men and women. By the way, no. I agree. I agree. There's so many, and it's weird because we are a different species, and women are put in the same situations. They're fighting just as hard, doing exactly the same jobs. And
how do you make that sound so belittling?
We deal with things different.
Your little guns are big too.
No, yeah. You cute. Who's going to war? Who's going to war? I'm saying that we are different. We deal as species, as a two different species. I would say that.
Careful.
We deal with things differently.
Okay.
Right. And so I think
we like to bake to get through our problems.
I think weirdly enough, because of childbirth and stuff, I think you guys in some ways can handle some of the damage better. I think.
Oh, we think so too.
Yeah, I know.
I've seen you with a cold.
Yeah, I had something to do.
Wasn't a cold. I had pneumonia and I was dying.
No.
One of the things Christopher was talking about, people getting treatment. One of the problems I ran into when I was running a program for insecurity, as Rachel said, is that PTSD is a covered disability. They don't have to tell their employer, at least at that time. I don't know if that's changed. And so what the Marine I mentioned came to work for me as an EOD tech. And about 4 weeks in, he just went down and became destructive, catatonic. No one would help him. The Navy, who ran the hospital in Camp Arifjan in Kuwait, said they weren't allowed to unless he had retired. He had to get back to the States to the VA, and even the company I worked for would not pass messages or be seen as assisting because of privacy issues that this young man had. So the guys who with me and myself our Ranger days kicked in, where you leave no fallen comrade behind.
Amen.
And so we did some things that I probably shouldn't mention because they weren't all kosher, but I was forward about it. I let the ambassador know, I let the airlines know, and talked to the air marshals, and we drugged the guy up and put him under control of one of my policemen, and he escorted him back to the States. Was smart enough as soon as he hit land, because by the way, the drugs were wearing off. As the drugs were wearing off, he started making weird noises that disturbed some of the passengers. So instead of continuing on out to Colorado, where his VA person was waiting for him, he got off at Dulles and called an audible and took him to the nearest hospital that just so happened to also have a VA contract. Oh. And so, awesome. So we were almost home, except I still had to call back and have a retired female colonel, great lady, go to the hospital with the details and make sure that the doctor knew what had going on, what was going on, and who his rep was out in Colorado. And then he was taken care of. And I shared with Rachel that 2 years after this, I get a email from him out of the blue. He was back with his family. His wife and 2 kids had separated from him because he had turned weird with the PTSD. And now he was at Jackson, North Carolina, helping others with PTSD, wow. and he had his family back. And so he got help, and he learned, unlike when he went with me, stay on your meds.
Yeah. By the way, for my mom being a manic depressive, stay on your meds. For God's sake, stay on your meds. Here's the thing: it's always funny to me, and this goes back to the Civil War. How we treat our soldiers after they've laid down everything for us. It's always
what I was.
It's so crazy to me that we just let these guys and thank God for Jon Stewart, some of these people that like really had a big media presence that backed it from the burn pits to not covering their medical. It's like I don't quite understand how we let these guys go.
In this new House, I was just looking that they proposed a bill that would rescind $2 billion for veterans for claims processing, appeals, healthcare within and outside the VA, research and education and training for veterans. So you're looking at people that aren't giving their lives in service and who have a great steady income and great healthcare and a pension for life.
And they can insider trade stocks.
Yeah, and becoming millionaires and voting down support structures for veterans once they get back and they do need help.
What I don't understand is how do you vote money away from guys that made it so you can live free? How do you go, yeah, no, we don't need to take care of you guys now. Yeah, but the whole reason we're here and everything's okay and we're not just taken off by the secret police is because of those guys. And we're going to cut them? I don't get it.
They also tried to take away VA disability for veterans that had higher incomes. I think it was over 170. You might know that. And I think that got shot down because people were like,
because rich people got involved.
Laid their lives down for us. We might want to just give them a doctor's visit once a month or something.
Yeah, we can make sure that the guys that run a Raytheon and Boeing don't get another yacht. We can just make you guys. You don't get one. You get one yacht, okay? Just don't get 2. Let's take care of the soldiers. But more than anything, the mental health thing is so.
Can I put another plug in?
Mm-hmm.
Can you what?
Yes.
Well, I thought I was remembering back when I met Christopher Titus. I met Toby Keith and other entertainers that went into the war zones. And talk about an ounce of prevention. If you in a war zone can have some downtime and laugh, I can't think of anything that's more of a PTSD immunization, shot in the arm, than be able to do that. So that's why, regardless of what he had to say or do, I was always a fan of his.
Of Christopher Titus
and Toby Keith,
or just Toby,
just Toby Keith, just Toby Keith. We had something. Okay. There's a special I did called Love Is Evil, and I get told this. I've been told this so many times across the country. Right. Soldiers would come up to sign something, and they would say, whenever a guy got a Dear John letter, we would all go to the common room and together and watch Love Is Evil again, and they would thank me so much. So I think you're right. It's amazing to me what we expect from 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. It's like, and if you think about it, right? Like a 20-year-old is not it's a kid now. Yeah. And we them into this insane situation, and then we expect them to deal with the death, the destruction, everything that's going through. Then we bring them back, and then our politicians cut the money to take care of them after they've already put their lives in line. Makes zero sense to me. I've
talked about this a lot, but my dad was, and you've talked about it in your special, my dad was shot down in Vietnam, and all but one other person on the helicopter was killed. And my dad still to this day struggles with PTSD, never really got help, came from a family where, and I think this is a common problem, where men are supposed to suck it up. You're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to see a therapist. And so that's what he's done. And it's all very bottled in there and not in a healthy way. We were sitting with him one morning about 7-8 years ago in Nashville having breakfast. And he's sitting across from us. I grew up with a father that never cried, except when my mom left him. He cried a lot. And even as a pilot, he got grounded because he was like, ladies and gentlemen, bitch, you left me. So they wouldn't let him fly. But
that's bad when you hear the pilot come on and go, you know what? What's the point? Hey.
Sitting across from us having breakfast, starts telling the story that I've never heard in full detail, is talking about being on this hospital ship, and this kid, 19-year-old kid, is in the bed next to him. He had, I think it was an IED, was badly burned, 3rd-degree burns all over his body. And is it 3rd or 1st? Which is worse? I forget.
3rd-degree burns.
Sure.
3rd is worse.
And they were coming to do the scraping every day and of his whole body, where they take all that skin off, and they would put a stick in the kid's mouth. And he talks about the kid screaming, and he starts crying. And I mean, tears pouring down his face. And you and I were just stunned. I mean, like, we wanted to hear it, wanted him to be able to talk about it, but you could see like it needed to come out, that there are movies, like you said, in his head still at 81,
Well, I'm glad you got help, Randy.
Well, I can tell you also that some of the systems are supposed to help fail us. When I was with the 10th Mountain in Haiti, I escorted a suicide back, and it happened only barely a week into the operation. I was going back because Melissa they found that malignant cancer, and so they gave me a short time to go. But in the process, when I got back there, I started looking into it. And this kid had been in Somalia 6 months before. His wife left him while he was in Somalia. He went to the chaplain to let him know that he felt suicidal. The chaplain went to the company commander and said, "Don't take this kid to Haiti." And he said, No, everybody has to go. And so off they go, and we bring him back in a box. So sometimes those systems we have don't work for us because people who should know better don't listen to advice when properly given.
Or, I mean, if the kid came flat out and told the chaplain, I mean, see, that's when you start to get angry at the system itself. You got this kid really went past all that stuff where he knew he was going to be called weak for feeling like this. You're scared. As a higher ranking officer, I was able to, inflict pain upon the captain that did what he could not have done.
So Randy has experienced death in a lot of areas of his life. And a somewhat consistent basis throughout his life. Like I said, losing his youngest brother, Ron, to leukemia, and you were trying to be a donor, right? Or you were a donor for.
I was able to donate my the plasma, not the red blood cells. They needed the white blood cells and the other things in the plasma. And so I would go. At the time, I was at University of North Carolina working on my master's degree to go to West Point. And so they had a hospital there that would draw blood, spin out the plasma, put the red back in, and ship that off to St. Louis for use. And it was helpful, I was told. I only got to go back a few times to visit, and it was always odd to see your little brother in shape like that.
Yeah, can't imagine.
But I think my older brother would have done the same, but for some reason his blood didn't match. Now, I didn't talk to mom and dad about what that meant.
I was going to say, you might want to have a conversation with your mom.
Wait a minute.
Hold on. I did notice he doesn't look like you.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, my father used to always say that, you belong to the mailman, you belong to the milkman, and you belong to the roving photographer. And it's
to the roving.
I'm sure he was joking.
Randy, I'm sure. Oh, yeah, I'm sure. He says with a tear in his eye. Then lost Melissa, his first wife, in 2005 to colon cancer, and was with her at the end. I've heard some of those stories are pretty overwhelming. Actually, I do want to say Randy wrote a book that talks about that. And it's on Amazon, right?
Yes. From the ash sheet to a front row seat. I tried to give advice to caregivers, but also, on the backside of losing Melissa, I for those who are not spiritual, just understand that when I felt a call to go into ministry and then later become a pastor, it came out of that time of I lost all my reasons for my future that I had planned out was in ashes. And that's where the ash sheet came from.
Yeah.
But I got to see a lot of great things go on, and that's why I talked about what happened afterwards in the front row seat.
We'll be right back with Colonel Randy Williams in just a second. But you need to know this episode is brought to you by
HelloFresh. Yes.
HelloFresh is a very close personal friend of ours.
It really is. We've hung out with HelloFresh for a couple of years.
We really have. They have not let us down
Never.
yet. I always, in any relationship, expect them to let me down. So HelloFresh is a meal delivery service,
yep.
but you cook the meal, and they show you exactly how to cook the meal. You don't have to leave your house. Nope. It comes to your door, and it's fresh, seasonal ingredients separated. Each recipe is in its own bag. You get the recipe card too. They run you through everything. You basically have all the exact amount of ingredients. And I will say this: follow the recipe. Every time we have it, there's not one. Okay, so we've had maybe 30 or 40 different entrees from that? At least, yeah.
So, I always say this. It makes you look at the food. You take a bite and you go, what? Yeah, exactly.
Man, we have had some stuff, and sometimes I'll tell you. So you can
stuff that I didn't.
You can pick how many meals a day and for a week, and how many people. And so we often will do the for 4 people, so we have leftovers. And then we eat it all. And then it doesn't make it to the next There's no leftovers. But it is, sometimes you can pick your meals every week. Their website, you can go look at them, click, read about them, full color. And, or you can let them pick, which we've done a lot because I forget. And sometimes I'll get the recipe card and I'm like, I don't know about that. And every single time it is insane. We have had insane chicken, insane burgers and lettuce wraps.
Chicken with those lettuce wrap things that were they taste like cheeseburgers with no bun. It was amazing.
And it teaches you how to cook. So I zest citrus now, people. I'm a zester. So if you want to try HelloFresh, which is 25% less expensive than takeout and cheaper than grocery shopping, all you have to do is go to HelloFresh.com/50knock'emdead. and use code 50knock'emdead for 50% off and free shipping. That's HelloFresh, patreon.com/50knockemdead, promo code 50knockemdead. America's #1 meal kit.
I don't think I've ever heard the promo code said that many times.
You're welcome. I'm excited. And now we're going to go back to our awesome guest, Colonel Randy Williams. Randy also lost his second wife to pancreatic cancer in
full disclosure
2017, and that was my mother.
Yeah, a wonderful artist.
A beautiful, wonderful singing 3-alarm fire of an artist. And I had first noticed your approach to death when my grandfather passed away. My grandfather basically starved and thirsted to death. He had a stroke from dementia and then had a DNR. And I remember watching Randy, because everyone was crying and it was a wreck, and Randy just very calmly checking his watch, feeling his pulse, putting his ear to listen to his breathing. And I was like, what in the hell is going, like Dr. Death?
Yeah.
And
like he's been around it a lot enough. It takes a...
It was interesting for me because when my mom got sick, you were still in Kuwait, and you sent mom home to get decent health care. And then you came. But I remember you talking to me and just giving me some really valuable advice about caregiving. And then you and I got to do it to the end together, go to battle, as you said, together. And I remember you telling me that two things I remember. Guilt is the caregiver's disease. And the second thing was be prepared, because everyone blames the caregiver.
That sucks.
Including the patient.
Yes.
There's a joke in Rachel's.
The
there's a joke in Rachel's new show like that. Do the joke about when you caregiver means.
If you've never been a caregiver, it's where you dedicate your whole life to save someone else's life so aggressively they wish you would die.
And now I have my 85-year-old mother.
Now Randy's taking care of his 85-year-old mother, duty bound. He's in Missouri on the family farm. But Randy also just lost his dad to COVID in January and tried to resuscitate him in the car outside the hospital.
Wow, man. So here's when Grandma Jean passed, I had an insight into death that it wasn't a bad thing. She was 89 and it was a gentle death. How do you, what residual do you have when you're around all this? I mean, the one thing with being older is comes wisdom, but also comes all these experiences where you lose the people that are the grounding straps to your life, that actually loved you, that actually cared for you. And how do you look at it now that you've been through it so often? Like, what was the insight where you were like, okay, when you were checking, like Ray, everybody's freaking out when Grandpa was dying, when Papa was dying, and you were checking his pulse and being very, I mean, I don't want to say clinical because I know you, and I know you're a good dude and you feel stuff. What was the insight you got into people dying that you love that helps you through it?
Well, as to me checking my watch, I mean, I had been around death enough. I could tell that he didn't have very long.
Right.
And so I knew that whatever it would be hard on the people in the room, but figured at least giving them warning so they could say their goodbyes. I firmly believe that people, as they approach death, hear everything around them.
Yes, absolutely.
But you can't help but feel helpless. You know this death is coming. And some of us will, on the backside of death, will blame ourselves. We will shake our fist at God, saying, "I'm angry with you." And by the way, God's got broad enough shoulders that He can handle it. So go ahead and yell and throw rocks at Him. But I think that one of the things that I understood, especially with Melissa, there were those who were going to survive past the death that were watching me and taking their cues from me. And if I've lost all hope or suddenly tanked, that it would have an impact that Melissa would not have wanted to have, and Sharon would not wanted to have. She was so worried about Rachel that was a lot of our conversation. That if she didn't beat this, Rachel would have this big hole in their life. And so I think that,
she was right.
that having gone through that and saw that with my sons, with her, and also seeing with you, and you and Christopher both took the loss so hard.
Yeah.
And so I tried not to be emotionless because I was hurting too, but I understood that by walking through in a way that I showed that I didn't lose all hope, I might be able to give hope to others. And that's one of the reasons why I tried to write some advice on those issues of caregiving and impending death and post-death. And also when people think they're coming to comfort you and they say the stupidest hurtful things, how to just let that go.
Amen, brother. I am like, people say the dumbest things.
Weddings and funerals, man.
It is. I'm like, do you even hear? I love, my favorite was, you need to get over this. Like day 2, I was like, I just lost the person that gave birth to me.
Or someone goes, everybody dies.
Yeah.
Hey, give me.
Yeah.
Look, we haven't even finished the food from the reception yet. Give me a couple weeks at least.
Oh, yes.
I think people don't. That's what we do this podcast. People don't. It's such an extreme thing. We're so afraid of it, and it's going to happen to all of us. And I think the one thing people feel like they have to say something. And I'll let you guys know, people. You don't have to put your hand on someone's shoulder. Just say, "I'm here for you." You don't have to say anything. If we just know you're there, that's fine. I tell you what, the best thing to do at a funeral when someone dies is listen. Yeah. You can just listen. Don't try to solve it. You don't need to solve it. We're all dealing with the nightmare.
I would say listen and just stop saying, how are you doing? Don't ask people that, guys. Don't ask them that.
Yeah, because you can only say I'm fucked so many times.
Don't remind me.
Yeah, just what I loved, and I still remember and will never forget, are the people that let me just know they were there.
Yeah.
That was it.
Food showed up.
Food, and can I come sit with you for a little while, or stuff like that.
With you.
Yeah, I still have these very vivid memories.
A strong Irish coffee.
I was gonna say I have very vivid memories of who showed up for me and just showed up, and also a lot of scotch. Woo! So Randy, my brother and I were just at a liquor store this week, and I told the guy that a little bit about that Macallan 18 and Mortlock 18 got me through that time. I'm not recommending drink.
No, we're not
I'm
saying
just
that.
saying.
We're just saying this would happen in our situation.
This was me. Randy in the morning would put it in coffee, and then about 3:00 he'd go, "Is it time to take the coffee out?" And I'd be like, "Yep." And it wasn't a lot. We'd just have a little bit to sustain us.
I remember going to the because it was four of us, and I remember going to the one liquor store. We found this supply of Mortlock, which they don't make, and I went in. I didn't know it was a month this went on, and I finally go to the liquor store, and the guy kind of goes, "Really? We're running out." I was like, I don't care.
They did run out. We bought the last one.
Yeah.
We did.
You were definitely there for me, and you had strong shoulders too. And I do remember stoic. And I think I said something to you. That's the thing that Randy said to me. Randy views so many things through military a lens of duty bound.
Very duty bound.
He taught me to keep my powder dry. Don't fight the skirmish. Save it for the war.
One shot.
Yep, you get one shot. So I've thought about those things a lot. Randy's taught me a lot, but he and I went through and did some things there at the end to try and save her that we may never tell, but that you said we went to battle together, and you can't erase that.
Sure.
And I remember that, and I think
we'll be bonded forever because.
Yep.
I think I said to you at one time, you don't even cry, because I was a wreck. You put up with a lot. He put up with a lot. You put up with a lot. You both, God bless both of you. I said, you don't even cry. And you finally said to me, in the beginning, you said it's not time. And then later you told me I took the time. And once I knew you were okay. And you said, and I leaked. That's what he told me. I went away and I leaked. And I was like, it's called crying, Randy.
You have to. It's so
well,
so important to grieve. And so okay to grieve. I think sometimes back to the military. The military, you are told to be tough. You're told to be a badass, and that doesn't take away that you always have to be human. Scotty said something. He goes, you have to be the gardener too. He said you would rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. He goes, you have to have the other side. And I said, he kept bringing up the Spartans and stuff. And you had such a genius with history. They were taught. I don't think our military teaches these kids that they teach them how to fight, they teach them to be tough, but they don't teach them how to be human in the face of that. You know what I mean? It's go, rah, hoorah, go, go, go. Right. And I think leaders like you, when you do that, you're also a thinker, a deep thinker. And
Our last Sergeant Major of the Army had sought help for PTSD, and so they wanted him to help change that view of seeking help, because it's there for a reason. It's to be able to help you to function again and maybe get back into what you did before. But I will tell you that even though that glass of red wine broke the cycle, it was several years of when that scene would start to play again. That sometimes I would resort to red wine or maybe something a little stronger and to shut the mind off. And when I came back to the farm, I figured it was all over. I hadn't had anything in 3 years. And I didn't know that whenever you wean a bunch of calves off their mamas, the mamas are down there crying. And up where I was, it sounded just like the women in the marketplace after a bomb had gone off. And it's all of a sudden the film started rolling again. And luckily, I had some medicine that the doctor recommended.
I am his doctor.
And 2 years later, I was able to go through that season, and yes, I was able to go through that season and not have a problem again. I haven't had any problems since.
That's the one thing.
But it's in there.
Yeah, but that's the thing about it. People don't remember that. Like the guy. So all right, some people have this attitude who aren't soldiers, didn't go to war. I've been guilty of this. Where you go, all right, you've been back for 3 years, you're okay now. No. The film is still loaded. At any moment, it can start playing. So you have to make sure that that's why I think we need to people need to be aware that our guys, when they say support the troops, it's not just putting a magnet on the back of your car. It's actually making sure that you vote for people that are going to support the troops, that you support leaders that are going to make sure that those guys get taken care of. And women, sorry, that all the military gets taken care of. Sorry.
Randy, every year on
women
on Veterans Day,
and women,
I will always
Veteranas
call him and ask him if he's having his scotch, because he toasts his fallen every Veterans Day, wherever he is. Can I say that you also lost someone in the 9/11 Pentagon flight down, right? The crash.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's one of the people that he toasted.
Vince Tolbert was a good friend of mine.
What was his name?
Yeah, he was Navy. Vince Tolbert. His first name was not Vince, but that's what he went by. Was Vince Tolbert, and so instead of using his real name, his real first name, he never did. So, but big bear of a guy. It was down lineman for Navy. When he was at Annapolis, and he was just a great guy. His parting words were to me as I headed to Kuwait and he headed to Washington D.C. was you need to be safe over there. The most dangerous thing I have up there is traffic.
Oh wow!
And by the way, also I remember watching Randy. You want to make Randy angry? Bring up a 9/11 conspiracy that it didn't happen. Holy shit. He's like, I had a friend die.
Yeah.
It's guys. So we have like 1 degree of separation. There's a dude who knew a dude that died in the Pentagon. So every time someone claims this bullshit, it always makes me, what do you, how do you see, I still, you haven't really explained it to me. How do you see death now? I remember Grandma changed my entire opinion about it. I am no longer afraid of it. How do you see it now?
I'm not sure I say that death is a cuddly friend.
Agreed.
I went through periods of time where it seemed like death was my constant companion.
Wow.
But I'm not afraid of death. I know it's coming. I hope to be able to, like the Spartans, to have a beautiful death or a good death, that I don't leave people traumatized by it. I hope to go gently off into the night as Melissa did, and for the most part with Sharon, and that even she was so worried about you, she wouldn't let go.
Yeah.
But I think that no, death is not something that I fear or go crazy. If I was so worried about that, I wouldn't climb into the corral with a bunch of beasts that outweigh me by 10 to 15 times and try to.
I actually,
and he's not talking about the Zumba class in the Ozarks. He's talking about the farm that you work.
I actually think
my cattle.
your new wife, Patty, should be afraid of death, because holy typhoid Mary of weddings, you've lost 2. And I said, Randy, I don't think you're ever going to find anybody to marry you again. And he did. He's remarried.
Because he's a good man.
He is a good man. But I'm sure she's...
And you know what? The people around me say I have a type. Not how they look. It's this. They will, if they think I'm doing something stupid, they'll get me told right off the bat. And your mama was an ace at that.
Yes, she was. I came by that honestly.
Yeah, she did. Well, don't you ever raise your hand to me.
I have a question for you, and then one last thing. What are we missing? What could we be doing better here to support the men and women that do come home with these movies in their heads that we're not doing?
I think it's so easy for them to slip under the radar. It's really hard to put a finger on any one thing. But I think, like was done in the military, those that retire or just leave service and have a lot of baggage, I think there should be some program of reaching out to make sure that they are okay. One of the things that's always bothered me, I talked to Chris about this once before, is that some of those that we know had PTSD, they go out, if it was mild, they don't seek help, but they still have this strong paranoia, and at least one has turned a weapon on others here in our country. And so I think staying tied into those would be something that and I know that nobody wants them to notify law enforcement. At some point, if whoever would be handling them sees that they're going over the edge, I think it would be a duty to say, hey, we need to bring this guy in before he commits suicide by cop.
So also because we can't trust the government or the bureaucracy of the government to do that, they seem, and it's go through history, hundreds of years where they have just, once the guys are done fighting, once the guys are done putting their asses on the line for this country, they've got forgotten about. So to all of you out there with people in the military, come home, family members, check on them. It's, that as Randy said, and this is the best way I've heard it put, the movie's still there. It's still in their head. So make sure you touch base with them. And if they are a little shaky, don't be afraid.
You're right. Not everybody can lock that movie behind the door and not open it up.
Right, exactly. And you never know. And like you said, the cows.
Some conversation I shut off.
Yeah, but the cows set it off. Like you don't even know what could set it off. That's crazy. When you said it.
I had no idea that was coming.
Yeah, right, exactly. So make sure you guys. By the way, all your family members, friends that have done military service that came back, if people in my family, I call Scotty once in a while and go, how you doing, man? Is everything okay? And he still goes to therapy. So it is actually the brave thing to get help. The thing to not go get help. The brave thing is to actually get involved and solve it, because that's what we do. That's what the men and women.
Thank you. Holy
the
crap!
Services do.
Holy crap! I remember when my mom passed away and how rough that was at the end. My dad's advice: put it in a room, lock the door, throw the key away.
Totally healthy.
And
That sounds totally. Holy shit.
And I thought, based on his, suppression and emotional instability my entire life, that's not the thing to do.
No.
Okay.
I'm going to open up a door, put it in the field, and let everybody see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then that can help. They can help.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Randy, we appreciate you so much.
Yeah, man.
And I want you guys, I don't want to give it away because you need to come see my new show. It's called Beauty for Ashes, about the journey with my mom and Randy. And but if anyone has seen my show and is wondering, he is Colonel Nipples.
This is Colonel Nipples, ladies and gentlemen.
We're not going to tell you why.
We're not going to tell you why he's named that. I'm not going to tell you why he's named that, but there is.
I own that. Yes. Yes.
I own
Not
that.
my finest hour.
I will say this. She said the other night on stage, she's talking to the audience and she goes, you know what? I have pictures of this. I'm going to make my show multimedia when we film it. We'll blur your face out, but not your nipples, sir. But not your nipples, sir.
I do have pictures of you in that moment when you were running up the stairs. I don't know if I told you that.
See, now he's a killer. See, now he's a trained killer. So now you're on the ragged edge now. See, now maybe I shouldn't have said anything. It's my fault.
Yeah, well, I've undergone a lot of therapy and forgiveness.
Okay, good. Randy, thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you've done for this country, for learning Arabic to do that, and also for what you've done in this family through our personal struggles. We love you very much.
Love you, my brother.
I love you guys too. I wish I could see more of you.
Yeah, well, you got to leave the Ozarks because we're not going there.
I saw the show.
Thanks, Randy. I love you.
Yeah. Love you too, man.
Thank you so much.